You snoozed twice this morning, spilled your coffee once, and you've already blamed last night's referee for your morning mood.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's time to embrace the chaos and step into the madness.
Bro, you about to see a side of me you didn't even know existed.
Featuring guests who are over-caffeinated and less reasonable than the average person.
Man, I think it's just ridiculous.
Come on, man. Are you serious? Ugh.
Fans, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Welcome to the show.
So buckle up. It's time for hot takes and hot mics. This is the Morning Rant, where the only thing more unpredictable is Dave before his third cup of coffee.
I just felt like running.
On WPGY, the Sports Pig.
And a good Friday to ya. It is Happy Hour Friday right here on the Morning Rant. Dave Garner with you till the top of the 11 o'clock hour today. And we appreciate you guys being with us. It is a Happy Hour Friday brought to you by our friends at the pub in Ellijay. When everybody else closes up, the pub is still open. Again, I think they stay open till about 2 a.m. On most days and nights there. So again, we welcome our friends from the pub in Ellijay with us here on a Happy Hour Friday. That's what we call our Friday show. Appreciate you guys being in with us. A lot to talk about here over this next hour as we get set for a busy weekend. Of course, high school basketball tonight and tomorrow for a lot of the area high schools, particularly the girls teams in our listening area. And so we're going to talk a lot about that coming up here a little bit later on. And of course, we're going to continue our discussion today talking about the Atlanta Braves in spring training, what that lineup might look like, the projected opening day roster, if you will, for the Braves. Also, some NFL news coming down. Again, some free agency moves, guys getting cut, guys moving around as the silly season, if you will, for the NFL is now underway as we near the NFL draft coming right off the heels of the Combine. We'll talk about that and some other stuff throughout the next hour. Joining me right now, again, my co-host for today is the man himself, again, the Golden Boy, Will Cooper, joining us again right here today. I'm applauding him for being back with us here because obviously we did something right yesterday. We didn't scare you off, so you're still here today, so that's a good sign, partner.
Well, for anybody who listened to yesterday's show, it's good to see that the headset has changed for a third time. And I do like the fact that you went with the wired beats. Like, this is 2015, so we're slowly inching our way into the 2020s.
We don't. I don't think we quite have the Bluetooth capability on the board yet, so I'm having to run the hardwired setup here today. So again, but yeah, I was telling you, I made sure though they were charged up, and that was the biggest thing because the other day they went out mid-show, and that was my fault for not, checking because I wasn't sure. I just bought them, and I wasn't sure if they were like the old ones or the new ones, were there battery or no battery, and I don't think there's batteries, and I think you just have to, physically charge them up. So again, we're working good today, though, and we appreciate you guys being with us right here on a Happy Hour Friday. Again, it is Friday, and we appreciate you guys being with us. As always, a lot of things to look forward to over the weekend. Of course, as we mentioned, we're your home for NASCAR, Cup racing, of course, the Atlanta Braves, spring training, you name it. We are the new North Georgia home of the Braves. We're honored to have that. We also have a couple of big events coming up, too, that I want to talk about. Next Saturday, March the 14th, we are planning on being at the Shamrock Shenanigans in the Alley in downtown Jasper, right off Stegall Drive there, again, right off of Main Street. It's a great event that benefits the Rotary Impact Club, which is the high school version of Rotary, if you will, sponsored by the local Jasper Rotary Club. The city of Jasper, of course, is helping to host the event. Going to be hosted, again, by a couple of different businesses along Main Street. So looking forward to it. We'll be there from 2 to 6, broadcasting live. Come by and meet us. We'll be under the Sports Pig tent and looking forward to meeting you guys. And then the following weekend after that, now that's next Saturday the 14th. The following weekend after that, the 21st and 22nd, a Saturday and Sunday, we are, as we mentioned earlier in the week, the official home of the Wingin Rock Fest down in Canton along Etowah River Park. That will take place on March 21st and 22nd, so mark your calendar. Again, we'll be out there with our sister station as well. We are the official media partners and radio stations for the event this year. And Shane and the guys, they actually brought, it's just outside of view here inside our Carriage Kia studios, but they brought us a poster and some different things with our logo slapped all over it. So we appreciate Shane and his team. We're looking forward to a great event. We'll be broadcasting live both days, so stop by and see us as well. We'll be right off the side of the stage there as we look forward to seeing some excellent, music guests, but more importantly, the wings, man, right? I mean, that's what it's all about, the flavor. What's your favorite wing flavor, man? What's your go-to, Coop?
Well, I'm not shocked that you went immediately to the food and not the music. That is right in line with you.
Yes,
for
that's
me,
what we talk about
I
here.
love I love a good classic hot wing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get some garlic parm going. Not a big fan of citrus, so I know the whole Atlanta lemon pepper thing.
Right. Yeah.
Miss for me, but I do love a good hot wing. But the key is a good homemade ranch with it.
Yeah,
that
that's
has
true.
to be the thing that
you got to
ties
have a good
it all
sauce.
together.
Yeah, well, and we talked about it earlier in the week. We were mentioning there is some legislation out there right now in Georgia to make lemon pepper the official wing flavor of the state of Georgia. Much like the brown thrasher is the official state bird, the lemon pepper wing is going to be the official wing. And so, yeah, it may have passed. I don't know. It may very well be. I do tend to like, now, again, I have different tastes. My wife tends to be more of kind of like a hot, she likes the spicy stuff. I like the honey garlic, the garlic parmesan, that kind of stuff. But I also like a good lemon pepper. I like a good dry, rub there as well. So, we talk about it, Coop. I mean, this show really, if you break it down, it's sports 80%, it's food 10%, and then the other 10% is music, entertainment, auto or what have you. So anything you want to bring to the show when it comes to food, that's what we're all about. You know what I mean?
I'm not shocked with you being the host that you would be so eager to talk about food.
But you got to look at my other co-host though, man. I mean, John Davis, man. I mean, he's a big offensive lineman. Billy D's got, he loves food too, man. He's a foodie. So
and you could out eat all of them.
Here we go. But this is what it's all about.
I did want to mention you mentioned you were giving away some concert tickets yesterday.
Yeah,
and I wanted to ask you, since you and I have been friends for a good bit now. What was my first concert? Can you tell me what my first concert was? I know we've talked about it.
Yeah, we have talked about that. Your first concert, oh my goodness. I know you're a big Alice in Chains fan, and I know you love the Eagles, but I'm trying to think, and you've told me this, but you put me on the spot this morning. I can't remember. Who was it?
It is Jethro Tull.
Okay, I don't think I knew that, honestly. I don't think I knew that. Yeah, I don't believe you've ever told me that. So Jethro Tull, okay. Now you're, for you being a younger guy, you are kind of an old soul when it comes to music. I mean, you do like a lot of the, 80s, 90s, like alternative type stuff. So I'll give you that.
And I would say I'm more of a classic country and 70s rock in general, but yeah, 80s rock, and then kind of as I've gotten older, more into the 90s alternative and grunge, which I guess takes me into the Alice in Chains stuff.
Yeah, there you go. I knew there was a reason for that. Well, we are your home again for a lot of different things as we talked about, but we're going to have a lot of great giveaways. I know that there's some concerts coming into town this summer. We've talked about Dave Matthews Band. We talked about Motley Crue. I mean, just a wide range of different things, and we're going to try to come up with some tickets. So the best thing for you guys to do, again, is follow us on our social media, interact with us on social media. Eventually, you'll be able to call in and do some things with us right here on the station. But again, we are on Facebook, the Sports Pig Facebook page, and also I was calling it Twitter all day yesterday because I still call it Twitter. I know it's X. It's the X world.
Everybody calls it Twitter.
It's still Twitter to me. So again, Sports Pig on Twitter and on Facebook. And then this show, The Morning Rant, we are on Instagram. And also you can watch full episodes on our YouTube channel at The Morning Rant. And again, also on our website, you can go and listen to the audio version of the show. Again, it's on sportspigradio.com. We are your home for ESPN Radio in North Georgia as we dive right on in here in a Friday. And again, when it's Friday, that means there's a lot of sports on tap for the weekend. Coop, anything that jumps out at you as far as any events that you've kind of circled, as far as things you've got to be in front of the TV for this weekend?
I think it's the conference tournament still running through in college basketball. It obviously determines a ton for our March Madness seeding, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yep.
I wore my Alabama shirt for you because Georgia did beat Alabama.
Well, they did.
The SEC tournament.
Yeah, and basketball the other night there. So it was a big win for the Dogs, and I felt like that was a big bubble win for them. I think Bama's probably in just based on their credentials, but obviously Georgia's kind of one of those teams that's kind of like, maybe, they're going to have to win a couple meaningful games, I think, probably down the stretch to make sure they get in, particularly, especially how they advance through the tournament. So we'll have to see what happens there. And again, we are your home for Georgia basketball too, by the way. Hopefully a lot of you have been listening to the Georgia games right here on the Sports Pig. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens as the tournaments play out.
Yeah, I think so. And you mentioned Georgia. I think they're in a good spot. I would put them, I think I saw 12 or 13 seeds somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's always flexible depending on what happens. But I would say that somewhere in that range. And, when you're an 11 seed, crazy things happen.
Yeah, we talked about March Madness yesterday. And you know what? I gotta gloat a little bit here before we go to our first break, because we were talking about it yesterday and you were like, I don't know if you won or not. And I was like, I couldn't remember who I picked or whatever. And so we had a little group thread going last night with our buddy Art Mosley, who also joins us in our March Madness bracket stuff. And come to find out, I've actually won the last 2 years after you. So, but credit to you for admitting that, because you went back and looked at 2025, from last year, and also 2024. So, hey man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. But I will gloat a little bit because, hey, after all, I got to take my digs while I can.
The credit where credit's due, man. A blind squirrel finds a nut, and you found it twice, back to back.
The last 2 years.
The fact that Art, the basketball coach, has yet to win a bracket tournament in our group full of just a bunch of random Joes is really something to try and delve into, because I cannot think of that.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. So we'll have to get him going. He's the self-proclaimed expert. No, I'm just teasing. Yes. But Art's got a good. He takes it well, man. He takes it well. So, I guess I'll be going for 3 in a row this year. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I seriously doubt that's going to happen, because I think the luck's probably about to run out at this point. Hey, our friends at Geiger Legal are also doing their March Madness bracket as well. Want to encourage folks to go onto their social media and sign up. Again, Geiger Legal Group is on Facebook, on TikTok, Instagram, you name it, and they're doing a bracket challenge where you can sign up. It's totally free. You don't have to pay an entry fee or anything. It's just like going on to the ESPN bracket challenge. But here's the thing. If you win, you get $1,000 cash and then $10,000 donated to charity in your name. So what a deal. I mean, you're basically giving money that's not yours out of your pocket to a good cause, and you are pocketing $1,000, no strings attached. It's all free. It's just something that Geiger Legal is doing to give back to the community in which they serve, and we appreciate our friends at Geiger Legal Group for all they do and making this time of year fun. Again, March Madness right around the corner. The excitement already starting to brew. A lot of great high school basketball, as we talked about. Just so you guys know, tonight over on our sister station, I guess I should say today at 5 p.m., Murray County going at it in the semifinals. We're going to talk about that in just a moment on the other side of a break, as we get you caught up on who is where this weekend in the world of area high school basketball. And of course, we'll jump into our Braves talk, all that and more coming up in a couple minutes. Again, you're listening to the Morning Rant. We are your home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
Tired of shouting your business's name into the void and getting nothing but crickets? Your brand deserves more than awkward billboard glances and flyers lining bird cages. Right now, listeners are hearing me ramble on instead of your ad. That's a touchdown for missed opportunities and a fumble for your wallet.
Recovered, Atlanta, game over.
Your ad could be here, making fans laugh, cheer, and most importantly, call you. Go to sportspigradio.com or call 678-454-9552 and get your business off the bench and into the game.
Morning Grind with Pork Rinds.
Welcome to the show.
It's the Morning Rant, weekday mornings from 10 to 11 on 98.1, 93.7, and 101.1 on the H2 dial. WPGY The Sports Pig.
And back here on the Morning Rant with you, Dave Garner, till 11 o'clock today. Again, Chuck Oliver will be here at 11. He'll go from 11 to 1, and then after that, we'll give way to Rich Eisen from 1 to 3. And then, of course, Paul Feinbaum joins us from 3 to 7 weekdays right here on the Sports Pig, your home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia. And we appreciate you guys being with us right here on a Happy Hour Friday presented by our friends at the Pub in Ellijay. Back here along with Will Cooper, the Golden Boy, and we were talking before the break about high school basketball and a busy weekend that starts today, actually this afternoon, for some of our local area schools. And, of course, we will be live today and tomorrow at 5 p.m. over on our sister station over on 101.1 The Pulse with a live play-by-play of the Murray County versus Columbia 2A girls semifinal from the Legacy Arena over in Douglasville. And I just want to let people know, like, if you can't break away, it's hard. If you live on the north end of town, okay, it's hard to get to Douglasville by 5 o'clock. Especially if you have to work, past lunchtime, okay? So if for some reason you're unable to make it, or maybe you're running late or what have you, be sure to tune in. Download the app for both stations. Both stations have an app. They both have a live stream. You can listen to that live stream at 1011thepulse.com. That's our website, but you can go there and log in. The app is probably the easiest way. You can Bluetooth it right into your vehicle. So, again, take us with you. If you're running a little bit behind, you're trying to get there before tip-off, but you get stuck in traffic, we'll have live coverage basically starting around 4:45 today, right around 4:45, both days, today and tomorrow. Tomorrow, the Pickens Dragonettes will be taking on the Heritage Catoosa Lady Generals out of Ringgold, Georgia, a pair of teams that are in our coverage area, and so looking forward to seeing a semifinal matchup there. We'll have that one for you live tomorrow as well. That one also in Douglasville. I know Saturday sometimes is a little easier travel because most folks are off work, but a lot of folks, especially that aren't comfortable driving through that mess, may not want to make the trip down there. We know there'll be good local crowds, but nonetheless, you do have an available option without having to pay for an FHS subscription or whatever. So to listen to us, it's totally free because I'm not sure anybody paid to listen to me and you over here on the Morning Rant anyway, Coop. But nonetheless,
hopefully not.
Yeah, but your thoughts quickly on high school basketball as we got a lot of area matchups taking place this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just kind of looking at Murray County's run to the Final Four here, going back in time a little bit, first of all, first round domination over Pierce County. And, of course, for people that don't know, the seeding is different now for basketball, and they're making the change to this PSR, which is just basically a power ranking.
Right. Yeah.
But essentially, Murray County came in as the 2 seed, which historically for this PSR system, which they kind of picked up from South Carolina and transitioned into some of the brackets, is better than being the 1 seed, and you're seeing that in this bracket here. But ran through Pierce County 82-19, big win over Laney, and then obviously last round a big win over Thomaston as well. I think the thing that surprises me about Murray is the amount of points they put up. 82 in the first round, 71 in the second, 61 in the last. They continue to put up, 60-plus points, which for high school girls basketball is a ton of scoring production. So I'm excited to see what they can do tonight.
I think it's going to be a contrast to styles. Columbia, they're a little bit longer, more athletic, and when you watch them on tape, again, they're out of Decatur. Murray County, more of a perimeter shooting team, so you're going to see kind of a clash of styles, I think, tonight in that semifinal game. And then tomorrow night, Pickens, the Dragonettes, they're led by Ellison Steinhauer. She is the North Georgia University commit there. And so it'll be interesting to see, obviously if you're Heritage, you want to try to slow her down a little bit, but Heritage really spreads the ball out well in their half-court sets and stuff. So should be a lot of fun, should be a lot of up and down hoops tomorrow as well.
Yeah, and obviously University of North Georgia, friends of ours, friends of the program, they are a big-time local powerhouse in women's and men's basketball, but especially women's basketball. But you talk about Pickens' run to get here, definitely lower scoring. They came in as the 6th seed in this PSR ranking, which has played them very well. They're going to took on Upson Lee in the first round, North Hall in the second, and then last round they did beat Jenkins. But again, those margins of of winning has been pretty comfortable for the Dragonettes.
Yes.
So I feel pretty good about their matchup as well. So we're hoping for a 2-0 clean sweep for you guys as you make your way down to South Georgia to bring us that action.
Oh, there we go. And, of course, state championships next week scattered all throughout the week down in Macon, basically from Wednesday through Saturday. So, a good shot certainly to have multiple teams in the state championships coming up next week down at the Macon Coliseum, and we're certainly looking forward to that and seeing what all transpires. I know, as we talked a little bit about yesterday, you've got your eyes on that River Ridge Creekview matchup, the defending state champion River Ridge Lady Knights taking on the Lady Grizzlies. A lot of familiarity, of course, between those two programs. And, sometimes, Coop, the bracket, it just works out to where two teams that have a lot of history against each other happen to meet deep in the playoffs, such as the case down at Georgia State as those two tangle.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is that in that 5A bracket, they did not do the PSR yet. They'll be transferring it next year. But River Ridge nor Creekview actually won their region. So this is a 3 versus 2 out of Region 6. Yeah. And I think the interesting thing is for that is Sequoia obviously went up against a really tough customer in Milton, and Sequoia won the region. So big shock. The 3 Cherokee County teams in that region did make it all the way through to the Elite 8 at least. But, when you look at their past, I think it's a little bit of a divergence because Creekview really had to battle it out with Lee County, pulled it out late. A good matchup against Manchester, New Manchester, a 9-point win. And then River Ridge, you can kind of tell, been there, done that. A 30-plus point win over Northside Warner Robinson, another 30-plus win over South Paulding, and then they barely got by Bradwell Institute, 50-48. Yeah, but I think that's primed to be a really great game.
Yeah, and we've got Cartersville Lady Canes in it as well. Of course, North Paulding in the bracket in the semifinals as well there. Kell, to our friends in Cobb County there, the Lady Longhorns headed to the semifinals. So, again, a lot of area representation out of our high schools, particularly on the girls' side, going into this semifinal weekend. And then, of course, next week, state championships through the GHSA. We are also a partner of the Georgia High School Association here at the Sports Pig. So when people talk about how did you come up with the name Sports Pig? Well, we leaned into our call letters. It's WPGY, so it makes sense. It's like piggy. But the other part of that, though, is we're a trough of all kinds of sports. I mean, we have partnerships with UGA, with Tennessee, with Georgia Tech, with NASCAR, with the Braves, with Atlanta United, with Georgia High School Association. We have all of the ESPN programming at our fingertips, including the College Football National Championship bowl season, you name it. And so, again, a lot of moving parts here with the Sports Pig. And then, obviously, this show, The Morning Rant, is a live take that is a little bit more central. Again, we don't use the word local because we're a regional sports station. We are not local. I know they were making fun of me earlier in the week for saying that, but we are a regional radio station here. But, again, we do appreciate you guys listening in, and we'll do our best to keep you covered on anything going on from high school to college to professional sports. You name it. We are your home for just about everything right here on the Sports Pig. All right, Coop, let's jump back in a little bit and talk about spring training for the Atlanta Braves. We touched on it this week, but I want to dive a little bit further into the lineup. As we mentioned, Spencer Strider throwing some different innings, topping out right around 96 or so, not quite the 100 that we've been used to. Has he lost a little bit, or is he holding a little bit back here so far in spring training?
My heart says that he's lost it. My mind says that he's holding back, and I think that's probably more wishful thinking.
Right, yeah.
Look, I mean, is Spencer Strider as effective when he doesn't throw 100 miles an hour? Heck no. Is he still an effective pitcher with him picking up the slider? I think so. The thing about him is he has that fastball that rises. Yeah. It creates a lot of problems for a lot of hitters. It's a different look. So I think for Spencer, the key is staying healthy. I mean, that's the key for this entire Braves rotation, really, which we haven't seen. When's the last time we got through a season with just minimal injuries as the Braves? 2019, 2020?
Yeah, it's definitely been five plus years, you would think. And last year, the rotation was absolutely, devastated, as we know. We talked about it yesterday. You're missing some parts like Marcell Ozuna moving on. You've got some gaps to fill in the batting order, but also defensively as well. But really, my biggest concern, my biggest thing, I guess, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily a worry, but it is that starting rotation. And I think a lot of that has to do, as you like to talk about, with a recency bias, but especially with last year having been decimated with our starting rotation. It's only natural, I think, to kind of feel that way, to be hyper-focused on this pitching staff and the fact that, Spencer Strider, if he's topping out at 96.7 miles per hour instead of 101, maybe a little bit of concern there, but who knows? I hope your mind is right, Coop, and not your heart on that one.
That's generally what I hope as well. But I will say this, too. We're putting a lot of faith in a guy, in Chris Sale, that's 40-plus years old at this point. Now, he has been, the iron horse of the crew so far. He has not been injured since he's been in Atlanta, and I think it was a broken rib was the one injury he had.
Right.
It's not really his fault. But everybody else, it seems to be a rotation of arm injuries, elbow injuries. And all I can say is that, we talked about Profar yesterday. It freed up $18 million. Whether we decide to spend that now or whether we can trade at the deadline, that does free up about $20 million for some rotation help or bullpen help, depending on what AA feels like we need. Yeah,
and obviously a lot of big decisions coming up for the Atlanta Braves over the next couple of weeks, certainly. But if you trust anybody, trust in AA. I mean, I think Alex Anthopoulos has more than proved that he is capable of making moves as needed. I wouldn't be surprised to see some different, roster moves and things happen during spring training, guys getting picked up or this, that, and the other. So we'll see what happens there for sure. And it's going to be a lot of fun as the Braves continue into spring training mode, doing a lot of split game sessions right now. Real quick, too, and we'll talk about it probably more on the other side of the break because we're up against our second break, but the World Baseball Classic, a lot of the World Baseball team lineup kind of playing some scrimmage games and things against some of the Major League Ball clubs. And we saw the Braves take on Team Columbia and actually won pretty convincingly earlier in the week. Team USA also rocking and rolling there. So, again, a lot of baseball, this time of year. What do you think, though, real quick, of the World Baseball Classic in general? Good thing, is it just another attempt like every other sport to try to, branch out and take it around the world, or what?
I mean, so I guess it depends on how the players view it, which they seem to love it. I don't have that strong end of an opinion on it. From my perspective, when I hear that, Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be facing off against Ozzie Albies, I love that because I know they're good friends and there's a friendly competition there. But at the same time, does it take away from your spring training prep at all?
Right.
Is there anything you're doing differently?
That's what I was wondering, too. It's got to change your routine a little bit. If you're a Bryce Harper, if you're an Aaron Judge, or whoever, But
yeah,
maybe live baseball is not a bad thing, not that spring training is not live, but you know what I'm saying. So maybe a little bit of world competition there, but hey, nonetheless, we'll see how it goes. Looking forward to it right here. Again, we're up against our second break. We'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about the World Baseball Classic and some of the moves the Falcons are making and some other stuff along the way as well. You're listening to the Sports Pig, the Morning Rant right here. We are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
Tired of shouting your business's name into the void and getting nothing but crickets? Your brand deserves more than awkward billboard glances and flyers lining bird cages. Right now, listeners are hearing me ramble on instead of your ad. That's a touchdown for missed opportunities and a fumble for your wallet.
Recovered, Atlanta, game over.
Your ad could be here, making fans laugh, cheer, and most importantly, call you. Go to sportspigradio.com or call 678-454-9552 and get your business off the bench and into the game.
We bring the heat. You bring the trash talk.
Come on, man. Are you serious?
It's the Morning Rant, live on the Sports Pig app and sportspigradio.com.
And welcome back in on a Happy Hour Friday, presented by your friends at the pub in Ellijay. Dave Garner back with you right here as we chop it up over this next half hour. We're on till 11 o'clock today before Chuck Oliver comes on with Southern Sports Today. And I do want to give a nod to our advertisers. Again, we got a lot of folks that make the show happen, and that's one area we're definitely going to get better at as we kind of progress through the show over the next couple weeks. But a big shout out to our friends at Geiger Legal Group. We talked about their bracket challenge earlier, and those guys do so much in the community. I know when you think about attorneys, a lot of times there's a negative connotation that comes with that. But again, these guys are great. If you've heard them on the air, we've had them on over on our sister station a lot in the morning show and in the afternoons. And again, Casey and Jamie and Chris and all those folks do a great job. Noel, Nancy. And so again, our friends at Geiger Legal, also Foundation Wealth. Again, we appreciate those guys for being with us right here. Those guys do business a little differently, and it's really an interesting model of business when you think about what they do. It's a very God-centered approach to your finances, if I'm being honest. And so again, there's a lot of spiritual elements there, but these guys do live it. You know, they breathe it. I've been there. I've spent a lot of time with Joel Hudson. I've spent time with Eric Bishop, with Dakota, and these guys. And man, they're legit. The biggest thing they're helping people with right now is dealing with scams. You know, there's so many scams that are floating around right now. As far as people, you know, trying to take advantage of not just elderly people, but everyone nowadays. And so what these guys are encouraging you to do is, even if you're not a client, okay, no strings attached. If you're curious about something, being a scam or what have you, call the guys at Foundation Wealth, because those guys, again, will be able to tell you, hey, this is legit, or no, you need to stay away from that. They'll be glad to do that because they really are sincerely trying to keep people out of trouble. So again, we appreciate Geiger Legal, Foundation Wealth, of course, Green Heating and Cooling, the Pub and LJ, and Cherokee Mitsubishi for being on board with us again as our sponsors of the Morning Rant, weekdays, Monday through Friday, right here, 10 to 11, live on 93.7, 98.1, and 101.1 on the HD2 channel, but always on the app and on sportspigradio.com, as well as all of our social mediums. Again, check us out, the Sports Pig on Facebook and Twitter. Some people call it X, but I call it Twitter, and the Morning Rant on Instagram and YouTube, and of course, downloaded live on our website, sportspigradio.com. All right, Coop, let's get back to it. We were talking about the Braves, a big weekend, of course, coming up for a lot of different things as we kind of transition into that time. Have you got any big plans this weekend? You're a pretty social guy, being a younger guy. I mean, you get out a lot. So what do you got going on this weekend?
Not much. Typical date night for us on Saturday. Other than that, we're taking it easy, brother. You know, I mean, every once in a while you gotta slow down, man.
Sometimes you got to slow down and enjoy this weather. I mean, you know, we're in the 70s again here today. I mean, it's supposed to be maybe a little bit of a chance of rain at some point here in the North Georgia area, but for the most part, man, things are starting to feel very spring-like. And then we'll have one of those where it'll end up freezing, you know, right in the middle of April or something. It'll kill all the blooms and buds. Yeah, it happens every year. So again, hopefully, because my wife and I, we love to work out in the yard. We got a lot of raised beds and, you know, flowers, things that she's very much into. So we're looking forward to kind of, you know, feeling alive again and getting outside and doing all those things that people like to do this year. But speaking of getting outside, we're getting into azalea season, which means the Masters is right around the corner. The tennis, you know, you start getting into a lot of stuff. So in addition to the NASCAR and the baseball, like we've talked about, you start working closer to the postseason for the NHL and for the NBA. And so there's that one time where everything is kind of overlapping at one time. And then all of a sudden everything kind of ends, and then it's just baseball and it's just racing for a couple months until you get back into training camp for, you know, football, and obviously into fall practice for college football. So we're kind of at a very exciting time right now sports-wise, because there's just so much going on and getting ready to happen. And it starts really with conference tournaments in college basketball and March Madness.
Yeah, March is arguably the best month for sports. Being a football guy, I would say that the best month is actually October, because you get into conference play and you also have the MLB playoff going on. So I tend to lean more towards October, but you have to appreciate everything that March brings, especially to Georgia, because you mentioned the Masters just to me is the signal that we've made it. We've gotten through the winter.
Right,
we've
yep.
gotten through the dead period. It's time to come out and enjoy everything. And I wanted to go back and mention something you said, because you made the statement, my wife and I like to work out in the yard. And I think that's the first time I've ever heard you say, I work out and love in the same context at all.
Oh, man. We were just talking about the wings earlier, and now you're throwing off on my exercise. So you hit my diet, now you've hit my exercise, or lack thereof. But, the sad thing is, man, I can't argue with you because, it's all that's pretty much non-existent at this point. But, so the one thing I will say this. I do tend to keep weight off a little bit better in the summertime because I cut my own grass. I do my own yard work, and that does help. And so when you kind of go dormant for a few months at a time, it kind of takes a little bit of a toll on you. So that's one of the reasons, honestly, you can make fun of me all you want to because you will anyway. But honestly, why I like being outside is because it does help me from a fitness standpoint. Just honestly pushing that mower around or what have you, you naturally, shed a little bit and keep some of that weight off. So,
well, if it makes you feel any better, we can't tell any difference between January and June anyway. So.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate that. That means more to me than you know. And so, wait a minute. First of all, what was all that talk yesterday about, you're going to come on here and people are going to watch you and they're just going to think, well, we're these nice guys that have all this ammo that don't retaliate. Well, I tell you what, you're definitely making up for it today.
I haven't even talked about your hairline yet. I am being so nice and reserved.
I covered it up
beyond comprehension.
I covered it up a little bit yesterday because of that oversized headset that Perry gave me. So
I knew what you were doing.
At least today, it's kind of a normal sized kind of head. It's like Goldilocks, right? I mean, the original headset we had in here was too small. The one that Perry gave me yesterday was like gigantic. I felt like I could wave planes in off the runway with that thing. And then today I've got something that's just right, or at least it feels right. It may not look right, but at least they feel good. They're comfortable. So
I would go back to the middle ones, the larger ones, because at least it brings your forehead into some sort of normalcy for the 99th percentile.
Oh, my goodness. Here we go. Oh, the world according to Coop. With all that being said, again, oh, man, talking about some other things going on. Again, how about free agency NFL? The Falcons already making moves. They released Darnell Mooney. Obviously, Kirk Cousins expected, of course, to go on. They're already talking about who might replace him as a veteran. There's a lot of talk about Joe Flacco, whose name we had thrown around earlier in the week right here on the Morning Rant. Your thoughts quickly on the Falcons and some of the moves that they're making and some of the moves they might need to make. Kyle Pitts obviously franchise tagged as well, so a lot of things shaking inside the new look Falcons organization.
Yeah, I hope we don't get like Jadeveon Clowney with this Kyle Pitts deal. A guy that gets the franchise tag, or Vic Beasley to make it an Atlanta reference.
Right.
I hope we don't franchise tag a guy that had a great year and then ends up just being the most average guy in the world.
That always seems to happen. Yeah.
And as far as you mentioned about quarterbacks, one name that I am talking about that I've seen a few other reports pop up that there may be some mutual interest being a dome team is Tua Tagovailoa. I know, much to the chagrin of all of our Georgia fans out there, but
I knew you had to take that stab. Yep.
No, as far as a mobile quarterback that could be an experienced veteran with a backup and a calm presence, he would be a good option. Joe Flacco makes me nervous just because at some point he's not Tom Brady. Surely he can't play till he's 55. It just seems he rotates through these teams that are all playing musical chairs. And to me, it's almost like the white flag to bring in Joe Flacco to say that we didn't really have a shot at the playoffs anyway.
Right. Well, and Joe Flacco, I mean, now he obviously at this point he's kind of a journeyman. He's had a long career, a great career. He's been successful. When you look at what he did last year, coming in basically cold into a Bengals, franchise that was already, kind of a mess. I mean, at that point, they were somewhat of a contender. Burrow goes down, but he comes in and kind of picked up the slack and really played well in spots after he was released by the Browns in a short stint. Came over to the Bengals, and all of a sudden he ends up, and everybody, just another boneheaded Browns move to let a guy go to a rival, and then comes back and beats you, a couple of times there. But then, of course, he eventually, moved on, got picked back up. But he's, moved around. I think he ended up with the Colts, I think, is where Flacco ended up last year and had some success. So, again, it's one of those things where you would like to have a veteran in there. You don't know how Penix is going to, pan out. We talked about it, one of our hot takes earlier in the week. Is Penix the guy? Yes or no? I think a lot of people are on the fence about that. I think some people are like, well, we haven't seen enough of a sample size necessarily yet. There are other people that have said, no, I've already seen enough. He hasn't been healthy, for the last 5 years. He's basically suited up in a football uniform going back to college. So I think the big question right now is what do you do, or what eventually happens with a guy like Michael Penix? What do you do with him? And, in the meantime, you feel like you do need to bring a veteran or somebody in that can, obviously come in, because even if Penix comes back, he's probably not going to be ready to play opening day when the Falcons take the field.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot for Penix and the Falcons. I mean, I think we haven't really seen his full potential yet. He kind of got thrust into action behind Kirk Cousins a couple years ago just because Kirk was struggling so bad.
Right.
This past year is like an enigma to me. How you can have one of the most successful rushing attacks, not only in the year, but also just in Falcons history.
Yeah.
And then you pair that with the most sacks in Falcons franchise history. And the best you can do is put out a product that's sub 500. I don't know. To me, it just seems like that if we had somebody more solidified there, I can't imagine that we need more weapons. I mean, Kyle Pitts and Drake London were both solid targets for him. Again, Bijan Robinson, takes off such a huge load off your quarterback. I think for me, the problem for the Falcons is with the draft capital they gave away and the weakness of this quarterback draft, there's nowhere to go this year, so you're probably stuck with him for the next year at least. So are you looking at 2027's draft and saying maybe there's somebody in there that you could trade Penix away, get a second rounder, and kind of package that up?
May very well be. I think the biggest difference this last year, though, really was coaching. I think that this is an organization traditionally that can't get out of their own way, but I think that you compound that with Raheem, with Coach Raw, who to me was just a raw guy. Honestly, I always called Raheem Morris the Flavor Flav of coaching, the biggest hype man of all time, because essentially that's, to me, what Coach Raw was. And no disrespect, because I think he's a great person. And he's a good coach when he's in his element as far as an assistant. But my thing is, I never agreed with that hire to begin with. I didn't agree with the Arthur Smith hire that happened before that.
Agreed.
And I said this, and you and I talked about this. I think this is actually recorded somewhere. I said I didn't feel like he would have a winning season in Atlanta, and lo and behold, he didn't. Now, again, he was a little bit more cash-strapped than Raheem Morris was as far as building a roster and putting a team together, and Terry Fontenot certainly part of that as well. But again, I think a lot of it was coaching last year, because to your point, how in the world do you have one of the best? You got arguably the best player in football in Bijan Robinson, all right? You're able to run the football, and you're able to play good defense and get to the quarterback. And in the NFL, those are the two things, that along with explosive plays is kind of the recipe for success. And you got explosive plays out of the offense at times. You had a great run game. You had arguably, an NFL and MVP candidate. Not arguably, he was, but arguably the best player in football. Even Saquon Barkley says that Bijan Robinson's the best. And then, as you mentioned, to your point, you break the sack record, as a franchise, and you're second in the league behind the Denver Broncos, and yet you're still a game under 500. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, come on. That's just ridiculous. So, again, I think a lot of it has to do with coaching. We'll continue this on the other side of our last break. Stay with us right here. You're listening to the Morning Rant right here on the Sports Pig and the Sports Pig app. Again, we are your home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia, and we'll be back with the final segment of today's program. Stay with us.
Tired of shouting your business's name into the void and getting nothing but crickets? Your brand deserves more than awkward billboard glances and flyers lining bird cages. Right now, listeners are hearing me ramble on instead of your ad. That's a touchdown for missed opportunities and a fumble for your wallet.
Loose, recovered, Atlanta, game over.
Your ad could be here, making fans laugh, cheer, and most importantly, call you. Go to sportspigradio.com or call 678-454-9552 and get your business off the bench and into the game.
Big opinions of the big games from the big mouths.
Man, I think it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's the Morning Rant on WPGY, the Sports Pig, North Georgia's home for ESPN Radio.
Sit down.
And welcome back into a Happy Hour Friday right here on the Morning Rant. Dave Garner with you right here again. Today's Happy Hour presented by our friends at the pub in LJ. Again, coming up, they've got a big event on St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th. Again, join the pub in LJ and wear your best green garb that day. They're going to be giving away a lot of different things and doing a lot of fun stuff at the pub. And again, a little bit later on in the month, we'll be broadcasting live from a couple of different locations and really moving forward. One of the things that we are looking forward to is taking this show on the road to a couple of our different sponsors and different events and things that are going on around town. And we want to get the station out to the people, right? To get them listening and also to put our best foot forward. So again, we look forward to seeing you out at some and many of the great events going on around North Georgia. Dave Garner back here with you till 11 o'clock, our final segment of the program today. I'm here with Will Cooper, the Golden Boy. And Cooper, we were just talking about the Falcons. We were starting to go off a little bit in that direction there. And I did want to mention, for folks that do follow the Falcons, you may have heard the name D. Orlando Ledbetter. He is has been the beat writer for the Falcons, I think, for the last, 20 years for, of course, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which is going through a lot of changes, but he's retiring, apparently. So, no, they'll have a new beat writer, I guess. But hey, congratulations to D. Orlando. He was always fun. He had a good relationship with a lot of people. I used to love always hearing him. He'd be like, "Well, the Atlanta Falcons." He kind of had that different little rasp about his voice there. But I guess we're gonna miss D-Led a little bit.
I think it was probably a mental health retirement. I mean, if you're stuck around that franchise for 20 years, I can't imagine what that does to a man.
20 years around that organization. And I don't want to throw them off. I mean, hey, again, we're Falcons fans at heart. I mean, I've got some other teams. I was talking about the Bills earlier in the week. I said it already. I'm married into the Mafia. My wife is a big Buffalo Bills fan, some family connections there. My family, my mom's side of the family is from Milwaukee and Green Bay. I mean, I have family in Green Bay. My great uncle does the popcorn and kettle corn for Lambeau Field. I have direct ties to the Green Bay Packers. And yes, I tied that back into food. All right, sorry, Coop. Every time. But no, seriously. So I have some direct. So I have always kind of been a split, Falcon Packer fan, and I know there's a lot of other franchises out there. That Atlanta is kind of a melting pot for a lot of different fan bases. And I know most when we talk about our fandom running deep here in the South, a lot of our allegiances, of course, are to college football, and it always makes me crazy when people up north say, "Well, Atlanta's a terrible sports town. Atlanta's a fair weather town." I can't really argue that because they definitely support a winner a whole lot more than they do when they're losing. However, I think that Southerners are just more passionate about different things. One of those being college football and, of course, NASCAR and those sorts of things. Obviously, you're wearing your Tide shirt here today, so you'd probably agree with that.
Well, it's funny. My partner, Sarah, she's from San Francisco, or from Orange County. She's a San Francisco 49ers fan.
Right.
I got to get that right. Apparently, it's a big deal. But, one of the questions when we first started dating was like, are you somebody that has ever been to a college football game? And she graduated from the University of North Texas, and, she had
the Mean Green,
been to those games. Yeah, the Mean Green. But they're Division II when she went. It wasn't even a FBS program then. And I told her this year, it is on our list. We will go to a SEC game, and hopefully in Tuscaloosa, because understanding the difference between an NFL game and what goes on at a college football game in the South is a drastically different thing.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, the reason they can fit 120,000 people in those stands compared to, a typical NFL stadium seats about 75,000.
Right. Well, it's a lot of the college stadiums are bleachers. They're not hardback seats, so you can really cram them in. With the way that, and sometimes the numbers are like right next to each other on the seats, and it's like, okay, well, wait a minute now. You get some large people, even bigger than me, if you can believe that, Coop, and you try to cram them into a row that seats that theoretically should seat 20 people, but you got about 15 people, and then you got to cram the other 5 in there somewhere. They're maybe a little bit wide in the hips, and, it's kind of tough to squeeze them all into, but they get them in a Neyland Stadium over 100,000. So, I mean, they do it. They figure out a way.
Yeah, it's like a clown car or like Alice's Restaurant, loading up the implements of destruction in the back of the VW microbus when you go over to Knoxville.
Exactly. Or you get, the clowns piling out of the car or whatever, one after the other. Yeah, exactly. So me being a Georgian, kind of being a Tech fan, and obviously Tech plays Tennessee this year too in a little ACC, SEC. But, Tech used to be in the SEC, so they still have a lot of natural rivalries that they don't play as much anymore. But Tech used to play the Auburns and Alabamas and Tennessees, obviously still play Georgia. But yeah, it's fun to throw off on some of the other fan bases. We have a lot of War Eagle fans too in the area, which kind of drives me nuts. I know it drives you nuts too.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, if you're going to be that miserable, just, at least keep yourself within the bounds of what you're doing. I think our current administration even has a point about that. But unfortunately, we don't have the same laws when it comes to state travel.
Exactly. I know my good friend Jeremy Green's probably listening. I know he's a big War Eagle fan there. So we got everyone represented. Again, the Tide, the War Eagle, Georgia, you name it. Obviously, here on the Sports Pig, we are your home for the University of Tennessee football. We do carry Vol football. We do carry Georgia Tech football as well. Majority of the games are right here on the Sports Pig. There's a lot of people that say, man, I don't have anywhere to pick up the games. I don't even know where to pick up the races. When you live in North Georgia, you live outside the Atlanta area. Sometimes even the Atlanta radio stations don't reach that far north of the perimeter necessarily, especially the closer to the mountain areas that you get in the more rural areas of North Georgia. So again, now tell your friends, tell your family, share it with you, share the Sports Pig, because we are your home to a lot of things right here, especially the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia. All right, Coop, let's talk a little bit more about baseball real quick before we get out of here today. I want to run down the U.S. baseball lineup for those people that are curious about the USA or the World Baseball Classic. Team USA, again, features guys like Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, the normal names, Cal Raleigh, the big dumper, as they call him, of course, Alex Bregman, Byron Buxton, the list goes on and on. I mean, you look down this lineup, obviously it's pretty stacked, but then you look over at Team Dominican, you look over at Team Puerto Rico. I mean, there's names on there you recognize too. You don't really get away with it too far. Jurickson Profar, by the way, was supposed to be on where's the Netherlands or the Netherlands?
Yeah,
I think, yeah, but
Curacao guy.
Yeah, so that's probably not going to happen either. But you're right. There's the Netherlands, the Curacao, the tie there. So again, I mean, teams that you might not think may be able to bring it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at Team USA, the one area that does give me a pause is the outfielders. Obviously Aaron Judge is kind of the anchor of that group, but it's Roman Anthony, Byron Buxton, and Pete Crow Armstrong are the other three outfielders we got. Really? That's the best we could do?
Yeah, well, all the other ones are playing for Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico or Venezuela. Right Who? Who's that?
Drew Waters from Etowah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, man. I figured you would know that answer right there.
I mean, I know he plays for the Royals. I'm being funny. I'm just saying that, that like anybody. Like
that's
Pete Crow Armstrong, really? We dug really deep on that one.
Well, hey, sometimes it's based on availability, and there may be some teams out there that don't mind giving away their players for a couple of weeks out of spring training, and, who knows? But it's certainly a good chance for the USA to be represented, of course, on a big world stage. But Major League Baseball already is a melting pot of all these teams, essentially, anyway. It's kind of like the NHL. I mean, it's kind of a given. It's between, Russia and Canada and, Finland and some of the other teams, and the USA, of course, makes it up. And you see them kind of split up in the Olympics, but then they come right back onto the ice, and we're cheering for these guys, all over the place again. So a hodgepodge, certainly, even when it comes to the Baseball Classic.
I hope that Team USA gets out to a large enough lead that I can hope for Bryce Harper to strike out every time he gets up. I hope he has no leverage in that lineup. I hope the bases are clear.
I think you probably share the same sentiment as a lot of people, to be honest with you. That would not hurt my feelings. I mean, if it were a 2-1 game in the ninth inning, all right, and the USA was behind, facing elimination, and we had two runners in scoring position with two out, and Bryce Harper came up to the plate. I mean, to a certain extent, it would all even if he struck out in the USA World Classic, team lost. I mean, I'd be a little disappointed. But at least I would be able to say, you know what? At least it was Bryce Harper that
Who are they playing? Is this like the 1980 Miracle team going up against the Communists, or the Olympic game this year going up against the disrespectful Canadians?
I mean, is this Rocky IV? I mean, is this US? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's let's just hypothetically say it's Mexico, for example, and it's the, or you take your pick. I mean. You know,
I don't know. It's almost like, would you rather live with your mother-in-law or would you rather have to work in the Falcons organization? I mean, death by 1,000 cuts or bullet to the brain.
Exactly. Well, hey, that's a good point. You know, we already, you know, they forced D. Orlando Ledbetter into retirement already. The Falcons did. So yeah, you got a good point there. You know, it's kind of like the whole the Michael Scott thing from the Office. If I was in a room with a loaded gun, I had 2 bullets, and it was Bin Laden, Hussein, Obama or Osama bin Laden.
Get that name right.
Yes, sorry, I didn't mean that. List. Yeah, Osama or Saddam Hussein or Toby, the HR director. Then he would shoot the other guys twice, or he would shoot Toby twice. But anyway, so yeah, it's one of those things. But Canada would be one that I'd be like, look, they're our neighbors, we love them, but they're too close to us, and there's too much talking that goes on between them and us. So I'm not sure I could do that.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Well, anyway, hey, we're about out of time this week, man. We appreciate you guys being with us. That's going to wrap things up for the morning rant. Coop, man, I've enjoyed it. Have a good weekend. Appreciate you, partner. Great job as always. And as always, go Braves, right?
Go Braves, chop on.
There we go. Final thoughts as we wrap up here in this hour. Chuck Oliver's up next right at 11 o'clock. Appreciate you guys being with us. Once again, high school basketball this afternoon at 5 o'clock and tomorrow at 5 on our sister station, 101.1 The Pulse. We will be live from Douglasville in the Legacy Arena as the Murray County Lady Indians take on the Columbia Lady Eagles out of Decatur in the 2A semifinal girls bracket. And then on Saturday, we've got the Pickens Dragonettes taking on Heritage Catoosa in the 3A girls bracket, the state semifinals, again, back at Legacy Arena in Douglasville. It's been a great week right here on the first full week of the Morning Rant. Appreciate you guys being with us. This has been a Happy Hour Friday brought to you by our friends at the Pub in Ellijay. Everyone, have a great weekend. Dave Garner with you right here on the Morning Rant. We are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com. And as always, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. We'll see you Monday. Thanks for being with us right here. Have a great weekend, everyone.